What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Football Talk with Xavier Edwards. My name is Xavier, and today we're going to be going over my way too early 2025 to 2026 NFL Honors Awards. For the first award that we're going to be going over the Protector of the Year Award. Now, this is a new award in the NFL. They just started it this season to give those big boys up front some credit. And for this one, there's a few guys that I have in mind. One is Penei Sewell for the Lions. The other one, I was going to say Tristan Wirfs for the Buccaneers, but we just learned that he's going to be out for the first few weeks of the season. I like Trent Williams with the 49ers if he can stay healthy. I also like Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata on that Eagles O-line up there in Philly. But ultimately, who do I think has the best chance of getting this award? I'm going to give it to Penei Sewell because those guys in Philly have a multitude of guys who could be deserving of it, so I don't think they are going to get as much attention on that front. I think you look at Trent Williams, and he hasn't really been able to stay healthy for a full calendar season, so I like the idea of Penei Sewell getting it. Really great lineman in both the pass and run game, but just a really athletic, agile lineman, especially in pass blocking. So for our Protector of the Year in the 2025-2026 NFL season, we've got Penei Sewell. Next up, we've got our Comeback Player of the Year award. Now, this is an award that isn't talked about very much, and the rules on it have been changed recently. It used to be you could come off of a bad season and come back and be great and get it. No, the rules now are that you have to be coming off of an injury. Therefore, this list is very limited because there aren't too many superstars who are coming off injuries coming into this season. You have Dak Prescott. He got hurt for pretty much a majority of the season last year, and I do think he's going to have a great season because he's throwing to George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb this season. You've got Aiden Hutchinson, who was on pace to ultimately set the sack record last season before getting injured. You have Christian McCaffrey, Trevor Lawrence. You got a few other guys like that. But who do I ultimately think has the best chance to get the Comeback Player of the Year award? I think there's one guy on defense and one guy on offense. And the first guy is going to be Aiden Hutchinson, and the second guy is going to be Dak Prescott on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to have to see what it looks like over there in Dallas this season to ultimately see who gets this award. But Dallas is a huge market. He's throwing to two incredible wide receivers this season. I'm going to have to give the Comeback Player of the Year award to Dak Prescott, coming off a season where he was injured, and the year before he almost won NFL MVP. So I like Dak Prescott to win Comeback Player of the Year. Okay, finally we're getting to the interesting awards with the Offensive Player of the Year award. Now, ultimately, there are a lot of guys in the league who are deserving of this award. You have Jamar Chase, who's going to be great, as always. Justin Jefferson, who's great. Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry. A lot of guys who in the NFL are always deserving of this year in and year out, not even to include quarterbacks who sometimes get put in the equation for this award. But who do I think is ultimately going to win this award? I think this may surprise a few people, but I like Jahmyr Gibbs from the Detroit Lions to win this award. He is one of the most explosive, best players in the entire NFL. He's coming to his year 3 season. He hasn't been able to fully break out because he's sharing that backfield with David Montgomery, but I think they're really going to give the reins to Jahmyr Gibbs this year. You've seen last season when David Montgomery got hurt that in a way he's really being held back by this dual combo role. Granted, it's keeping him fresh and healthy throughout the year, but I really think if Jahmyr Gibbs is given the reins like I think he may get this year, Jahmyr Gibbs is in for a breakout season where I think he will end up winning Offensive Player of the Year. Okay, now we're going to jump over to the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to look at Defensive Player of the Year. Now, this one is really interesting because I think there are 4 guys who have kind of paved the way to be on top of this award this year. You have Aiden Hutchinson, who's coming back off of a season where he got injured, but if he wouldn't have gotten injured, he definitely would have won Defensive Player of the Year. You've got Myles Garrett, who just got the bag from the Cleveland Browns. They just got him one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, in Mason Graham, with the 5th pick in the NFL draft. You've also got one guy who I've heard some NFL tackles praise very, very highly, and that is Jared Verse. Jared Verse had a great playoff run with the Rams last season, but I was talking to an NFL tackle who'd been overhearing some other tackles speak in the league, and they said that Jared Verse is going to be a problem in these next few seasons. So don't be shocked if Jared Verse puts up 15 sacks or so in this next season and takes home Defensive Player of the Year. The one other guy I've always got to put into consideration, though, is Max Crosby. Dude has a relentless motor. He doesn't give up on the play. He's got Pete Carroll, who's a new coach coming in, who's a high-energy guy. I think he's going to fit perfectly with what Max Crosby loves to do. And ultimately, out of these 4 guys, who do I think has the best chance of winning Defensive Player of the Year? I'm going to hand it over to Myles Garrett. I know it's probably the boring pick, but to me, Myles Garrett being paired up with Mason Graham forms one of the best fronts in the entire NFL, and I think Myles Garrett's going to have a dominant season if he doesn't get injured, but I ultimately give the award to Myles Garrett, barring injuries. Okay, now finally we're to the most interesting award of the 2025 NFL season. Some would call it a quarterback award, but it is the most valuable player. Now, ultimately, there's always guys who are in the conversation for this award. You have Josh Allen with the Bills, Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, Joe Burrow with the Bengals. Some would throw Patrick Mahomes in there with the Chiefs every year. But ultimately, there was a new kid on the block last year who kind of got put in the equation, but not really too much, and that is Jayden Daniels. My top 2 guys going into this season that I think are going to stand out at the quarterback position are Joe Burrow and Jayden Daniels. I think it's going to be a 2-horse race between the 2 of them. Obviously, everybody else is going to put up their numbers, but I think the 2 of them are going to have incredible seasons. Jayden Daniels going to his 2nd season, helping to fully turn around the Washington Commanders. And then Joe Burrow, obviously being Joe Burrow, coming off of his first full season after tearing that ligament in his wrist. I think he's only going to be better in it, and some would argue he probably should have won MVP last season if his defense was any better. So ultimately, out of these 2, who do I go with? I think Joe Burrow is going to be your 2025-2026 NFL MVP, and here's why. I think Jayden Daniels is in a tougher division, as crazy as that is to say, than Joe Burrow is. Now, why do I think that? It's because when I look at the NFC East, I look at the Dallas Cowboys, who don't really have the greatest defense in the world, but that offense looks like it's going to be very solid next year. Those games may be shootouts, may cause the Commanders to lose a few. Okay, next up you got the New York Giants, who I believe are going to have the best defense in the NFL next season. And some people say that is crazy. It's the New York Giants. They're never any good. If you go look at their front 7, you cannot tell me that is not going to be a top 5 defense in the NFL. You have Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns all on that D-line. They're all going to be rushing the quarterback at the same time. You upgraded your back end by getting Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo on top of a few other guys. I think the New York Giants are primed to actually make a playoff push this season, which y'all are ultimately going to see in my way too early playoff predictions for the 2025-2026 NFL season. So ultimately, Joe Burrow is going to be your 2025-2026 NFL MVP. Called it here first. Make sure to remember all of these when the awards ceremony comes up at the end of the season. Okay, and that ultimately concludes my 2025-2026 NFL honors predictions for this year. I think I'm actually going to hit on a few of these awards, but let me know down below what you think. Give me your predictions down below so we can ultimately look back and compare when we get halfway through the NFL season and when we finally make it to playoff time and we get those awards announced. Thanks for watching.